my first time going through free agency. I think for me, the biggest deal was I had to fall in love with, regardless when you look at it from a D-line standpoint, I think, the whole money aspect of, players that have came in and, have projected themselves after this. I think for me, I really just fell in love with the way that they play defense here. And Coach Chris is obviously a staple in that. And I truly believe that just by the way that he really believes in, it being a rushman led defense, so the front is when the front comes alive, everything else kind of falls into the place. So I think for me, that was the biggest thing, definitely, knowing his background and obviously me being coached by guys like Rod Marinelli around the league. I've seen it before. So it wasn't something that, I kind of already believed in the things that they were doing here to make me, so it was just kind of checking that box for sure.
Hey, Clelin, kind of following up on that. Have you paid attention to some of the guys? Arden Key was a former Raider, and some of those guys who've come through these doors and had success, and then gone on to nice contracts. You talk to guys like that at all?
I mean, I have a lot of good friends around the league. I tell people this all the time. The NFL it's not a family, it's a brotherhood. And even guys like Arden, guys like Eric, guys like even Javon, even Nikki, Nick, I say Nikki, Nick, Nick, we've all trained together and been in the vicinity, around each other, whether I played against Javon in college, or I've trained with Nick before, trained with Eric, trained with Arden, trained with Solomon Thomas, trained with Maurice Hurst. So I just have a good base of players around that have, kind of, especially that ones that have been here to kind of, give me just really good feedback and, kind of solidify things that, or any questions that I may have had going into the process. So I definitely, take heed and look at those guys, history and see, where it projects, I'm sure.
You mentioned the 49ers style of defensive line play. How does that compare to what you've done in the past? Have you ever played in a system that just kind of allows you to pin your ears back the way that the 49ers do?
I've experienced it, to an extent with the Raiders before. With Rod Marinelli, he was someone who, I give a lot of credit to, just in regards to, the type of things that he taught us. But obviously, I feel like the 49ers, especially, this team, they've kind of been like the forefront of it for the league, obviously having the number one defense last year. And I just feel like, I've seen in my career times where I've seen the way they play, and I've seen it in examples around the league. But I think this is like the true, from what Coach Chris has built. This is kind of like this is kind of where you want to be if you really want to exemplify that, to the full extent. So I think it's a very, very good system. It's a very, very good plan in the way that we play. And I think the 49ers for sure have been a team that has kind of led the charge on that.
Hi, Cleveland. Javon was just in here and said that, the 49ers being a contender, going after him and the way they run the defenses, what was attracted to him, even though there were other offers on the table? Was it similar for you?
I don't want to get into comparing, my situation to someone else, but mine definitely was someone, I had teams interested in. When it came down to it, obviously it came down to probably around about 3 or 4 teams that I had pretty serious, interest in. But the 49ers just stood out just because, obviously I've been watching them for a very long time. I started out in Oakland my rookie year, so I've already known what the rivalry was, and basically having good friends and having good relationships from guys around the league that have told me good things about, and kind of just reassured everything that I had to hear about Coach Chris or Coach Shanahan or even John Lynch, upstairs. So I think that relationship is what I've really honed in on for sure. Just really trusting, my guys, like I said, it's a brotherhood. So understanding that those relationships are things that have kind of carried me through a little bit of guidance, through this process for sure.
Hey there. When you mentioned that, or when the Raiders moved from Oakland to Vegas, you mentioned that you were really going to miss the Bay Area. Are you looking forward to being back?
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait. Last time I was in the Bay, I was just telling somebody this. Last time I was in the Bay and I was playing football, they was playing MC Hammer and NWA in the stadium. Now I get to hear some E40, thumping off in the back. So I'm excited. I can't wait. It's gonna be fun.
Clinton, I'm sure you know you've taken criticism and been banged around as a number 4 pick and haven't done this, haven't done that. Is any of the criticism fair? And also, how have you, I don't know, just dealing with that, how has it shaped you, or how have you grown since you've been in the NFL?
Answering your first question, I mean, is it fair? I think criticism isn't, regardless of regardless of whether it's fair or not, it just is what it is. You know, it comes with the territory. You know what I mean? People always have whatever things they may have as far as an opinion to say. I think for me, man, I think it's really been a blessing being, you know, whatever my journey has been in the league, because what many people don't know is, you know, all these guys in the league, we're still young men developing at the same time while we're coming into this very high status, you know, job. So I think going through the different, you know, ups and downs, whether good days, bad days throughout my career, I've had time to really grow and mature into a man, you know, just because you're making grown man decisions, grown man mistakes. And, you know, sometimes it's like, especially me, I moved from the East Coast to the West Coast. So, you know, you can't call on mom or call on your brothers all the time for everything. So I think it's been a really, really good transition for me. And I think that for my career moving forward is really going to show that I really appreciate those years for sure.
Whether it's been Arden Key or Charles Menahue, the 49ers have had success in taking guys who are quote unquote defensive ends and lining them up inside on passing downs. And I'm just wondering how much you've done of that in the past, and whether that's been discussed as a possible role for you with the 49ers.
I think playing for this team, I think anything, you know, in regards to where you could be lining up at, in regards to being a pass rusher, you know, you just take the ceilings off. So it's nothing that I feel like, you know, throughout my past that I haven't been, you know, asked to do. And just in regards to, I've dropped in the coverage, I've rushed inside, I've played 5 technique, I've lined up sometimes at corner sometimes. But I think being here, you know, I'm really just buying in. I have an open mind to whatever Coach Chris, you know, has for me, because regardless of the fact, I'm still a very young player, and I still have a lot of, you know, time to develop it. And, you know, I really don't think I've tapped into my potential. So I'm just coming in with an open mind, and I'm really excited, ready to hit the ground running.
Well, you just kind of alluded to it, the potential that you still have an upside. How much kind of going into this process, and you've talked about it a little bit along the way here, but were you looking for a place where you could just kind of reset and give yourself an opportunity to reach that potential?
And it's, you know, I hate that word potential, because I hate talking about it, but definitely, regardless of the fact, I think you just want, you know, progression. And I feel like regardless of the fact whether I were to, it wasn't about whether I feel like I could progress here and not anywhere else. It was really more so, which way did I feel like it was going to make me progress in the way that I feel like would have been the best benefit for the team I'm playing for. And I feel like my skill set specifically, it just fits, you know, the identity and the culture of this team. You know, I've always been someone where, regardless of the fact, I enjoy the fact that people, you know, the more responsibility that the front four has, you know, obviously it's the more responsibility that we have to get things wrong and get things right. So I've always been someone that never shied away from an opportunity to be in that role, if that makes sense, right? So I enjoy it. You know, with if you're gonna wear the crown, as far as the D line, like you gotta take everything that come with it. So I look forward to it.
Yeah, Clelin, you came out for the draft the same year as Nick Bosa, and I'm wondering if your paths crossed very much during that process, and do you know him at all, or have you guys, has he shot you a text for coming to the 49ers, or?
Oh yeah, no, when it's kind of crazy to get a little backdrop story, but yeah, me and Nick got drafted, same class, and even coming out of college, like we was like neck and neck for, like, you know, trying to see who was gonna be, like, I guess you could see the guy, you know, in regards to college football DNs. But actually, when COVID at first hit, we was all training together down in Florida, so we were down there for a long period of time. Me, and it's crazy, me, Nick, even Joey, Eric, DeForest Buckner, all of us, we have a pretty good, you know, they kind of had joined up, but we have a pretty good nucleus of, like I said, it's a brotherhood. So a lot of D linemen around the league work out together. And during that COVID time was the time we really got to, you know, get it in, really get some good work in pass rush. We worked out together, you know, just through that whole process, just in the gym. So I think that was a time period where we really got familiar, and I really got to, have a newfound respect for Nick, because, he obviously is a very, very hard worker, and he takes our craft very, very seriously. So that was like my first real glimpse. And then, obviously I'm excited now because I get a chance to play with a very, very highly talented guy in the league, one of the best players that we have. So I'm excited.
I believe you said that you lined up at cornerback in the past. What was the circumstance of Clelin Ferrell playing cornerback, and how did you do at cornerback?
Nah, it wasn't. It wasn't nothing like it wasn't. I'm joking on the cornerback thing, but it was kind of like where you spy guys. You know what I'm saying? If you got an offensive player that's someone who you want to get hands on. Well, it's a couple of times where they may be lined up extra wide, so I got to step out there and I'm looking like I'm out there at corner or something like that. But never nothing where I'm actually locked in on it. But it was just like a couple of times where it can look like I'm playing it for sure.
Any other questions, guys? All right, thanks, Clelin.